get Cedric over here. Come here, tell our television audience.
Okay. That is the last time that man does anything to any official. He's done enough damage to the people. He's done enough damage to the wrestlers. But when he starts interfering with senior officials, referees, anybody, that is the end tonight. That is too much. That man, I'll show you the black card. That is him suspended. He is history. Bad news is now history. He has gone.
He's suspended.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely
Suspended. I don't know what he's doing.
There's the ruling.
Wild. He's not safe in front of people.
All right, Pat. And away we go with another edition of the Stampede Wrestling Show.
Let me tell you good people something, and you beer belly sharecroppers out there.
Well, he takes me to the movies, we go strolling in the park, watch the late show on TV, he holds my hand in the dark, he's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy. He's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy.
Just a minute, what's going on here?
So it's Bonzi, Benzi, Candy, he's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy, and he's mine.
We're going to have a little knock-a-knock-it. Well, hi, everybody. As the old saying goes, batten down the hatches and lock the door. It is indeed wrestling time once more.
Hello Stampede Wrestling fans, we're here today to talk about the officials of Stampede Wrestling. Although some of them actually didn't toe the line and follow the law, many of them did, and one of them that we'll have an interview with today is Mr. Jergen Hermann. The cast of Stampede Wrestling had many characters, but some of the most forgotten ones are the referees. The referees played important roles in many of the storylines within Stampede Wrestling, sometimes even blurring the roles between referee and wrestler. Over the years of Stampede Wrestling, there were many officials that came and went. Some of the most memorable ones were Sandy Scott, otherwise known as Alexander Scott, not to be confused with the wrestler of the same name. Cedric Hathaway, who came along in the 70s and early 80s. Rod Hayter, who was around through the 80s and kind of assumed the role of the villain referee. Wayne Hart, one of the Hart brothers, was an official for many years through the 1980s in Stampede Wrestling. And then Jergen Hermann, who we're going to interview today, who was a Stampede Wrestling official during the 1980s, but also played a role in the 1995 Stu Hart reunion and also officiated in CNWA after the close down of Stampede Wrestling. One of the officials that blurred the line between referee and wrestler was Cedric Hathaway. He actually played a face referee or a heel referee at different times. At one point he actually was involved with a feud against Rod Hayter in which he had numerous tag team matches with. There was actually a match that took place between J.R. Foley and Cedric Hathaway, and during the match, although Cedric was supposed to be the babyface, he actually went low on J.R. Foley through the match. The match actually was a bit of an abysmal mess and ended up with Cedric getting a Boston Crab, but then J.R. Foley's son Athel runs in and gets the DQ at about the 2.5 minute mark. A number of other instances throughout the time of Stampede Wrestling as well involving Rod Hayter. One of the referees that did not go into a wrestling mode, either good or bad, was Jergen Hermann, and we're going to talk to Jergen Hermann today about his role as a Stampede Wrestling official and some of his best memories of being in that role throughout the 1980s. At one point, Cedric Hathaway's psychiatric status was questioned, as we can listen to here.
For this reason, he is going to be suspended from this moment until he successfully completes a course of therapy by Baron Frederick von Dimitri of the NWA Neuroses Division. Now, I have sympathy for Mr. Hathaway because of what he's had to put up with. I've seen the horrible abuse he's had to put up with, but his behavior is erratic and it's unbecoming an NWA official. Until further notice, the NWA is only as strong as the rules that govern it. And when someone violates those rules, this man is obviously insane. The man is obviously insane. He's going to be placed under psychotherapy. I hope he successfully completes it, because next to Alexander Scott, my good friend, he is the greatest referee to operate in this area. I would also like to add that in light of Mr. Hathaway's behavior, the suspension he imposed on Seamus O'Rourke is going to be reviewed by the NWA. And in my opinion, there's every likelihood that Seamus O'Rourke will be reinstated as a wrestler. Okay, I'd further like to add that Mr. Bruce Hart, whose antics I've viewed here tonight, is again going to have his probation extended. He has been subject to provocation by Mr. Hathaway, but that does not justify the behavior of Mr. Bruce Hart.
Okay, well, there it is. Tyrone McBeth, the president of the Judiciary Committee of the NWA.
As you'll hear today, Mr. Hermann started off in law enforcement, but also was a boxer and a wrestler in his high school and early adult years. He actually will tell a story about how he had to leave boxing because of being unnecessarily rough at one point. He went into police work in the 1960s, but came back to wrestling in the 1970s, and it was a chance meeting with Bruce Hart in Hanover, Germany during a wrestling tournament that the offer to come to Calgary and work for Stampede Wrestling emerged. He later came over in 1979 and was an official there throughout the 1980s, right until Stampede Wrestling closed up shop at the end of 1989. However, he continued with CNWA and also was at the Stu Hart 50th anniversary show in 1995 and has remained involved with the sport since that time. He was known as a no-nonsense referee. He brought in special techniques to Stampede Wrestling that we had not seen before, such as a soccer-style yellow and red card system, but also he brought in the use of a whistle, and a whistle was used throughout Stampede Wrestling matches for Jergen Hermann throughout his tenure.
Flowers are blooming, the grass is growing, and it's time to chop the weeds. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped, you can trim your holes safely for our audience. Use the promo code DYNASTY20 to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Join the other 2 million men who trust Manscaped. They are here to make sure you are trimmed and smelling nice. After all, it is time for some spring cleaning, because spring is sprung. And Manscaped has the best tools to get you ready. I love their products. I use them almost daily. I use cologne. There are others wonderful smelling products. Of course, the grooming tools. And you are going to love them too. Manscaped are the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming and have forever changed the grooming game with their amazing products. They are here to help with your above-the-waist holes. So remember, get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code DYNASTY20 at manscaped.com. That is DYNASTY20. Dynasty20 at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code Dynasty20. It's spring cleaning, baby, and your balls will thank you.
And with that, let's get on to the interview of Mr. Jergen Hermann. I hope you enjoy. Hello, Stampede Wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Ring-a-Ding-Dong Dandy. Today we have an incredible treat. We've got referee Jergen Hermann from Stampede Wrestling. He officiated throughout Stampede Wrestling throughout the 80s and was a figurehead in Stampede Wrestling throughout all that time. How are you doing today, sir?
Very good.
Good to hear. You're still living in Calgary, right?
Right, it's in a valley, a little farm here, a little ranch.
Oh, so you're just outside of Calgary.
Yeah. By Okotoks to Black Diamond, when you know the area there.
Okotoks, yeah, of course. Do you have a business there, or does your wife have a business there?
No, my wife had a business in Longview, the restaurant, High Food Saloon. And he passed away last year.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
You have a son living in Alberta as well, right?
Yeah, Dennis. Beautiful kid.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start back with your history in wrestling. I know, of course, you started out in Germany. Now, somewhere along the way, you met up with some Stampede wrestlers, I think Bruce Hart in particular. How did they convince you to make the trip to Canada to start with Stampede Wrestling?
Yeah, I met Bruce Hart in Hanover. The biggest tournament is in the world, 53 days straight wrestling. And he was there with Dynamite Kid, Tom Biddington. And you know him, yeah?
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And then he lived in my house because it was too expensive in a hotel with the boys. I took 2 boys to my house. So that's the reason I come together with Bruce Hart.
And how did he talk you into going to Canada? How did he sway you?
They offered me a job here, and I was in this time a police officer in a homicide business in Germany. And I had a holiday for 3 months, and I was 1979 the first time here in Calgary, the Stampede, and I was left here with one hater, and then Alexander Scott, Sandy Scott.
Yeah, Sandy Scott, of course, yes.
And Stu liked me, and then I was retired in 1986. I come over for good here, and Stu Hardenhill and his wife take care about me here, like a father and mother here. Super good.
And how was it difficult to come to Canada? Did you have any difficulties getting the proper ability to enter the country and immigrate?
No, Stu Hart was helping me there. I get my paper and I said, I'm the immigrant here. My wife and my 2 boys, Dennis and Brian. And then Dennis starts wrestling too here as a pitbull kid. When he stopped wrestling, then Owen Hart had a big fatal accident in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Now, prior to that, you were a police officer, as you mentioned. I think you also had some background in wrestling and boxing. Is that right?
Yeah. I was in boxing really good, and then I did suspension from my job site. I was too brutal. Bullshit.
Oh, how'd that happen? Tell us about what happened with your boxing career.
The guy in the police academy, and I knocked him out after 20 seconds. There was a trainer there. He was pissed off at me, and there's a reason to stop boxing there. To go to wrestling.
So was your career cut short because of this? Were you prevented from boxing any further?
Yeah, I lose interest in boxing then, and having a good wrestling business is much better for me. And I wrestled underneath the mask because I was not allowed as policeman to go to sport like wrestling. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason I wrestled under the mask there. And I was a referee for Mr. Schroeder. So I was a promoter in Germany. And then I was in the business.
Did you have an amateur wrestling background?
Yeah, but freestyle.
Freestyle. Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your wrestling career? Were you more of a heel or a face?
I was more heel.
What was your persona? What was your wrestling gimmick?
My gimmick was all the time outside the ring to finish the match outside the ring. Because people in Germany like it, yeah. Make it with blood and finish the wrestling match outside the ring.
Mm-hmm. Did you wrestle around other countries outside of Germany as well?
Yeah, Hungary, Budapest, Poland, Warsaw. The Arbeitgeber promotion. Budapest was a super good wrestling town, big city in Hungary. It was great, yeah. Treat me like gold, yeah.
Tell us about wrestling in front of Hungarian crowds. Were they quite rabid? Were they quite involved in the action?
Oh yeah. It was tough. The whiskey bottles flying in the ring. Was all the way there because they chase you around in the big groups, no?
Right. I've seen some of the CWA wrestling from Austria where there's a lot of things flying into the ring. So I can't imagine what it was like in Hungary.
Same thing like Hungary.
And how were the crowds in Poland at that time? How were the crowds in Poland at that time?
Poland was more quiet, but if you have a good name, then you like the heels there, not the baby face. And the people was more for the heels, and it was tough crowd there too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move forward to Stampede Wrestling. When you came to Stampede, it seems though you're the one that introduced the yellow and the red card system and used the whistle, of course. Were these things that you used when you were an official in Germany as well?
Yeah. We take this gimmick from the soccer games, soccer, the yellow card, the red card, the black card, on the whistle. So you take it over to wrestling, it's going as good gimmick, it's coming good on the crowd, people started.
It was a very unique system to Canadians, but I know in Austria and Germany they had done things like that before. Was it your idea to introduce that to Stampede Wrestling, or did Bruce Hart suggest that?
Yeah, I was the first guy here. Come over and introduce, and it's coming and good here. People like it.
Mm-hmm. And so for those fans that aren't aware, can you explain a little bit about the yellow and the red cards? How many yellow cards would you have to have a red card, for example?
First yellow card, second yellow card, and a red card fellow.
And red card meant disqualification at that time.
Disqualification, yeah.
Yes. And there were some situations where you'd give a red card first. What happened with that?
No, I start out with a yellow card first, never a red card first. Red card first only when it's a brutal thing, like you come with a fork in a ring or thrown objects, and that's the reason to leave the red card right away. Otherwise, first yellow card, two yellow card, then a red card.
Okay. And did the other officials in Stampede Wrestling ever think about taking that yellow-red card system on?
No, it's my gimmick only.
Now, you were in the ring with some of the best as a Stampede official. Did you have a particular favorite in wrestling?
Dynamite Kid was the best in my eyes and own heart.
Tell us about some of your memories of Owen Hart.
Owen, he was 13 when I was over in Germany. I took him over to Germany. I remember he was sitting at our table eating green bean soup. Yeah. He was slurping like the whole time. When I hit him with my hand and put his face in the soup, we was laughing. Yeah. With Ross Hart was there and Keith Hart. Keith Hart is still my friend. He's very often near my house. He lives close by here. Bret Hart is close by here, so there's a big family here in Canada too. Yeah. We have many, many jokes there. I show him the real life in Germany. Take him around in a homicide car. It was pretty good.
And Owen was a great guy at that time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he wrestled a little bit in Germany. He came over there, I think, around the late 80s, early 90s, if I recall.
Yeah. The crowd liked him. He was a baby face. The crowd liked him, by the way.
Yeah, great baby face, great acrobatics.
Yeah.
And I think Owen would have, around 1986 debuted in Stampede Wrestling. Were you there for his debut?
Yeah. I moved over in 86 from Germany. Was retired from the police force. Had an accident there. So he retired me there. And I started my life over here. It's 2 hours house first, and I bought one condominium here, my own house, and I bought a little ranch here in Turner Valley by Okotoks.
And in terms of his debut, do you have any recall about how he felt at that time? Was he pretty nervous about making his first match in Stampede Wrestling?
No, I feel really safe here.
He was pretty comfortable by that time.
Really comfortable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
He also made some trips to the UK early in his career. Early 80s, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you have any recollections of those trips that Owen would have made there?
I was in Max Capri. It was a city promotion. I tell you the truth, yeah.
Yeah.
The promotion was not great, huh?
Of course.
Cheap and,
Of course.
you know, the English food was different. The food was it.
Yes.
Plain. I was spoiled for my wife. Good food in England, it was shit food, no way. I go home right away. That was not good, no.
Do you have any favorite times of Owen Hart in Stampede Wrestling? I know for me it was his matches with Muck and Singh that were always a highlight.
Yeah, Makam Singh, I bring him over to Germany too. He's in Hamburg, big toilet bowl. I don't like him so much, to tell you the truth, yeah. He was, when he said no one never talk bad about his people, huh? He was a city head sometimes.
And how did Muckam Singh win over the German crowd?
Yeah, I don't like him so much over there.
What persona did he use when he was in Germany?
What do you say?
What was his gimmick when he was in Germany? Did he wrestle there as Muckam Singh?
Yeah, that's Makam Singh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Seemed like he was too hard. He was ask-kisser, all-time ask-kisser.
Now, Owen, of course, won the North American belt a few times. He had lots of great moments in Stampede Wrestling. How was your thoughts about Owen when he went into the WWF the first time, and then later on when he returned to the WWF later? Do you have any thoughts or memories about those moves to the WWF for Owen?
I think Owen was not happy in the WWF because, you know, Owen was afraid about height, for example. And then he made a gimmick with him to jump down there from the ceiling, from the arena. That's the bullshit, yeah. And Owen was a good guy, and he was a family member, family guy. He didn't like this shit with the girls and the big boobs in the ring and this shit, yeah. This was a little bit hard for him. He was more a family man.
Yeah, very difficult situation for everything that happened in St. Louis, for sure. Do you have
Yeah.
interactions with Owen's wife and children at all?
I met Martha a few times on the ringside in Stu's house, especially Sunday meal. To make all time big Sunday meal with other boys and family. There's 30 people on the table there. Need 3, 4 turkeys, 5 turkeys. And, Stu was a good guy to us. He was like a father, yeah.
Tell us about Stu. Tell us about Stu in terms of how he brought you over, how he took care of you in Calgary.
Stu took great care of me in Calgary. He liked me very much. I was kid number 13 the whole time. And too. Oh yeah, when you kid number 13 in the family. I got along with all the boys and we had a good time here. Stu was a super guy. And then we take him over to Germany with Dennis first time in Germany. He was 16. I got on my kid in a tournament for Mr. What's the name? Short, yeah, Short. We had a great time in Germany with Stu and Helen. Mr. Short take care of Stu and Helen. He treated my gold over there because there was good promotion there. And Stu was happy and he was first time in Germany. He liked it a lot. Food, special food, he liked food. Food, you know, Stu, Eddie. You have a good time there, no? That's great.
Did you attend any of Stu's Sunday night dinners?
Oh yeah, I was all the time there.
How was he as a cook?
Stu was great. Helen was always good. He was in the kitchen. Yeah, I was laughing. And he was in the kitchen and prepared stuff there. Eddie, he was good, super.
I've heard stories of his industrial-sized kitchen with huge pots.
Oh yeah. On the outside was the freezers and the veranda and the deck outside. And there was then Ralph Klein, you remember Ralph Klein, yeah?
Ralph Klein, of course, yeah. Premier of Alberta.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He take care about me too, yeah. When the both were strong, when Robin opened up the freezer door and the frozen turkey fell on his head, he was bleeding like hell. He was laughing. Ralph Klein was a super guy too, yeah. He was
in Stampede Wrestling, several of the officials got involved in the action. So remember there were matches involving Cedric Hathaway, Rod Hayter got involved physically.
Yeah.
Were you ever offered a more physical role in Stampede Wrestling? Did that ever come up for you?
Oh yeah, it sometimes happened. So I was in this stage young, 40 years old. Now I'm an old man. But it was great. I was involved in some gimmicks sometimes. With good wrestlers there, like Harley Race. You know Harley Race.
Of course. Lots of good memories of Harley Race coming through Stampede Wrestling.
Yeah.
Especially his interactions with the Stomper.
Yeah. That was good, yeah. When we was at the gas station, we had a smoke. When Stu come around the corner and I give me a smoke. You take a smoke. I was the only guy who can smoke in Stu's house. Harley Race was allowed to smoke, yeah. And Stu said, hey, you bastard, I can see you smoking. He come like a steamer, you fucking mouse. He was crazy. Harley Race was a super guy.
Now, one of the biggest things about Stampede Wrestling was those road trips. Those road trips were huge. They travel across thousands of miles in Saskatchewan, Alberta.
2,000 miles roughly a week in top of wrestling, yeah. 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
Region, Saskatchewan, Rosetown, you name it, Kindersley was Saskatchewan. Next week was Alberta, little towns up north. Next week was BC, the mountain. And then Montana. Montana was nice too.
Did you make the trips up to the Northwest Territories, Yukon area for those matches?
I never was in Yukon. That was in this station before my time. I was in North Battlefield up Dawson Creek was the farthest thing I go. Dawson Creek, yeah.
Do you have any great memories of being on the road with people like Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy Smith?
Oh, yeah. Only John Fully. You know John Fully? Remember him?
Yeah, I do.
John Fully, yeah. He all the time said, oh, you stop, please, piss car. You never can stop, you take a Pepsi bottle. Yeah, so that's great. And my best friend here was Angel Azevedo, Cuban Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
You know him too, yeah.
Of course.
And he was a great guy. We have so much fun on the road. Stu bought all the time Kentucky Fried Chicken and put a big bucket in between him and me. When I was driving, he liked to drive the car sometimes, and he wanted to eat it, and it was empty because Dynamite picked up the stuff from the back seat and eat it. Stu was matched. He was stop at the next stop, Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was great. Yeah, funny, yeah.
Did you make some of those trips in one of Stu's Cadillacs?
Oh, yeah. It was a big Fleetwood. And come the first time in 79, he gave me his big Fleetwood car. He had about, so for sure 15 Fleetwoods on a property there. And he keep every car I think he has, and like a Jungsjagdclub. And I get a Cadillac and I treat the Cadillac like a baby and give it back and Stu, you come back with it. That's alter my Cadillac here. But the boys were so rough with his cars, you know.
Would Stu let anyone else drive his car, or was he the sole driver?
Stu was all time driving, especially Edmonton, Saturday night. Saturday night was Edmonton show. Friday was Saturday Edmonton. We go all the time in his Cadillac to Edmonton. When I was the only guy I can smoke in his car, it was great. Stu was not a smoker, you know. And Wayne had you and me are smoking, and Wayne gave me the cigarette. I split the cigarette with him all the time. Oh, yes, fun. That was great.
Now, you would have had other officials in Stampede Wrestling at that time, mainly Wayne Hart, Rod Hayter. I think those would be the other ones that were around you most at that time. What were your interactions like with the other officials?
Wayne was a good guy, and John Hayter too. On Cedric Hathaway. I don't like Alexander Scott. He was the fittest. I met him only in 79. When in 88 he was gone. So, but John Hayter was good, nice guy, and I used to saw him in a funeral service for Steve Gillespie a couple of months ago here. And he had an oxygen bottle. Nice kid, nice guy. He was an Edmonton.
Did you travel together in the same car with the other officials on your trips?
Oh yeah, it was very often together. Bruce like all the time to come in our car, or I go meet him like more the east side. I go meet the engine of course, I go to Ayala. It's nice. That's great.
Now, outside of Owen, who was your best kind of travel mate? Who was the person that you spent the most time with on the road, would you say?
The most time I was together with Angel Azevedo, my husband. Hercules Ayala, you know him too, no?
Hercules Ayala?
Yeah. And sometimes Bed News Allen. But he was a strange guy. We take him to Germany, he was strange. He was not like that.
How was Bad News on the road? Bad News always seemed like a nice guy behind the scenes.
Yeah, he was okay, but he was straight like an arrow, yeah. He was not a super nice guy to the boys.
Yeah. He
was arrogant, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Were you around with the time that Bad News Allen and Cuban Assassin had some altercations?
Yeah, I know. Parking lot in Davey and Kerry. I know. When Bad News was beating him up. That was nice. That was a private thing between the girls there, the women. Nothing to do with us in the wrestling business.
They made up later. We talked to the son of Cuban Assassin, and they made up at a later time, so they actually got back together and laughed over some beers about it.
Yeah, this was just before he passed away, come together, I think. But it was only, not like before. Before I was a good friend, and now it was only we talked to each other. Bad News was a funny guy in the modern way. You know?
Mm-hmm. How about those trips out to Saskatchewan? I know you would have made some pretty rural areas at that time. How were those trips?
It was nice trips. You treat like gold there, especially hills. In Bob Brown, you know, his aunt make us nice food all the time. We stopped in a house there, private, stay in the house, was nice area. I like it. I like it more than BC. I bet I was number 1. And then Montana number 2. And the Saskatchewan was number 3. BC was not so good. Tell you the truth. Yeah, I know you from BC, ne?
I am, but I'm originally from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I like Saskatchewan. Old town.
Yeah.
Dynasty. All the towns.
I remember you officiating matches at the Regina Exhibition Auditorium.
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Did you have any good times with restaurants in Saskatchewan? Did you go to any good German places?
Yeah, I was never in the German place in Saskatchewan. I was in a big restaurant in Albert Street in Regina. Das was that man's hotel. The opposite side was a little Greek restaurant. Super good.
Mm-hmm.
Never was in a German restaurant, yeah. Chinese restaurant, yeah. But German never.
Now, I think your son Dennis has become involved in wrestling in recent years. How much influence did you have upon that? Was that something that you were looking forward to? Did you wish for him to get involved?
I tell you the truth. I was happy. He was a good baby face. He was a super walker. He was with own together. Even get his first wrestling boots used from home outfit. He was a good flyer in the ring. But then an old accident was happened. He quit. He put on a nail. They shit. Too much trouble. Some insurance sit after the matches there. Family go out in parts there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or shitty.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good friend.
Can you tell the fans a little bit about your son's Dennis wrestling persona?
Yeah, Dennis was a good wrestler. He was a flyer in the ring, like Owen. Not so good like Owen, but he was pretty good in the ring. And he liked the wrestling matches. He liked the wrestling. He was on the road with me. He was proud to get him. He was a little bit mad sometimes, and Bruce started and make a gimmick with him. This is the son from Jergen Herrmann. Himmler was killed in the Second World War in Germany. They picked Bruce up. One time more. Bruce was no, I didn't nothing anymore, you know. I mean, Bruce was the guy who made sometimes prank with the boys.
I heard a little bit about that situation. I know Bruce wanted to use that name for you as well when you first came to Stampede Wrestling. I know you had resistance about it.
Yeah. And it was good. Those two was on my side. You bullshit about it. And actually, it was on my side. And then Bruce stopped it, but yeah. I mean, it's not nice. This shit, Second World War shit together with me. My name is not good.
Yeah, there are some kinds of heat that are not good heat. I agree.
Yeah.
And so, with Dennis being involved in wrestling, were you helping him out? Did you help with any of his training, for example?
Yeah. And especially Keithhart and Leo Burke helped Dennis. Super. Leo Burke trained him with Keithhart and the engine conversation. The engine and Keith was living in my house after my divorce. And it was like a big family in my house here. My wife, I take care about us. And still today, and he's now 80 years old, live in Lesbos there. We come together here, so we drink together sometimes. And Keithhart, too. But it's a little bit different now, it's 70, his own family. But we have a good time here, all together.
So, do you have interactions still with some of the old stars? For example, I know Cuban Assassin lives in Calgary, and Leo Burke. Do you have any interactions with them now?
Leo Burke, I saw last time in the funeral service for Steve Gillespie.
Oh yes, a couple of years ago, yes.
Yes, yeah, now 1 year ago, I think. That's yeah. And he was here in my house very often too, Steve and his girlfriend. And Leo Burke is to the hotel room on the road. And he used to be in the kitchen, good guy, make good food for us in the kitchenette in the hotel. There's no money sometimes. And so it was great. It was a great family. And Keithhart, who was an assassin, he's a good guy.
How about Angel Acevedo? Do you see him at all in Calgary?
Oh yeah, he lives now in Westwood, in Stoller. Not in Calgary. He's not driving. He's 80 years old. He's not driving anymore. I was over there a couple of months ago. We had a nice time in Westwood.
So what kind of advice do you have for people that want to get into the industry nowadays, especially if they want to become a wrestling referee?
I say go to Lundstrom. You know, Lundstrom is a wrestling school here in Calgary. He's an honest guy, straight like arrow, I tell the truth. And he train you good, he's really good or not good for this business. It's important. You have to use your heart in the business.
Yeah, Lance Storm has trained many stars have gone on to WWE, a few that have gone on to AEW, so he certainly played a big role in the new wave of wrestling for sure.
Yeah.
What would you suggest in terms of whether or not they should look at becoming a wrestling official versus having some other role in the sport?
Yeah, you have to be very trained, conditioned to be a wrestler or even a referee here. And that's important. You have to go in with your full heart, not like a businessman. It's not like a job like a plumber or electrician. It's something else. It's a good career, and you make it. You're all good. That's what I'm happy.
That's good. So, I know that, of course, you're a police officer over in Germany. Did you ever have any thoughts about being involved with police work here in Canada? Did that ever come up?
Yeah, I was a special constable here for the RCMP in Trinidad Valley. I'm retired now. And I was a guard, take care about the prisoners here in Trinidad Valley, and the commissioners. And I make this sometimes, and I like to do it. I go still down. Connection with old guys, the boys, it's not important. So, one-time policeman, all-time policeman is here, you know.
Of course, yeah. When you acted as a guard, were you working at the Remand Center?
No, only in Trinidad Valley.
Ah, okay. All right. So, Mr. Hermann, are there any other things you'd like to bring up? Any other things you'd like to talk about?
No, I'm very happy now when we to live here in Canada and Calgary area. Scots country here, foothills. And I was happy from protection from Stone Hill, the Hart family. They do great for me here.
Yeah. Alberta's a great country, for sure. Great people, too.
Yeah, Scots country here. I go back to Germany and then after 3 weeks I miss my home. So I have to go. I want to be home in Germany, and know my home is Calgary. Yeah. That's much better, yeah.
Yeah. That's how you know where home is, I suppose.
Hmm?
That's how you know where home is, when you miss it after 3 weeks, for sure.
Right. Oh, my boy's coming up in a weekend, take care about me a little bit. I'm 76 years old now. My wife passed away, so I was spoiled. The whole time I go broke for the full switch. See him for no full switch. So I'm useless guy in the kitchen. My kids take care about me a little bit. That's great, huh?
That's great. So we have so much respect for everything you did with Stampede Wrestling. You played a big role in Stampede Wrestling as the no-nonsense referee. We all respected that role very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all your time with us today, and best of luck for you and your family going forward. Best of luck in Alberta.
Thank you. Nice to have me. Okay?
Have a great day, Mr. Hermann. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be sure to follow the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy Stampede Wrestling Podcast on social media. We have a great Facebook group that talks about all things Stampede Wrestling. And you can go there by following the link tinyurl.com/Stampede Group. And of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter @StampedePod. Get in on the action, share your memories, and see everything that we have to post here.
Oh, look out for that one. It should be a ring-a-ding-dong dandy.